what a day of tennis. Day 10 is wrapped up, and I cannot wait to get into it. The quarterfinals started, and we had two of the men's quarterfinals and two of the women's quarterfinals to get through. On top of that, of course, I'll give you guys my star of the day, and we'll go and preview very briefly the quarterfinals for tomorrow as well. Before we get into it, remember to hit that like button, do subscribe if you're new, and do leave a rating or review if you're listening on a podcast platform. Okay, thank you to everyone that joined for the two men's quarterfinals that we did today. Alcaraz versus Tsitsipas and Djokovic versus Khachanov. I have to say, the Djokovic-Khachanov match was actually more entertaining than the Alcaraz-Tsitsipas one, which was the evening match and was actually the more anticipated matchup out of the two quarterfinals for the men's. Let's talk about Djokovic-Khachanov first. I thought Khachanov played incredibly well in the first set, served really big, hit his spots, massive booming forehands as well, really troubling Djokovic, who was very slow out of the blocks. But after the first set, both players went toe-to-toe in the second set, and it was actually anyone's set, in all honesty. It was a set which could have gone either way, but then the tiebreaker came along and Djokovic really upped his level in the tiebreaker, won it 7-love, and he rose to the occasion and he upped his level. And as soon as he upped his level, that level stayed then for the rest of the match. And Khachanov struggled with that higher gear that Djokovic went into. His serving did drop off a little bit. Didn't manage to hit as many first serves in. Didn't manage to strike the ball as cleanly as he was off both wings at the start as well. And Djokovic managed to win in 4 sets in the end. For Alcaraz and Tsitsipas, well, I thought Tsitsipas would maybe take a set off him, or at least it would be 3 relatively tight sets. We ended up getting 1 tight set in the third set. We'll touch upon that in a second. But the first 2 were absolute carnage. Alcaraz dismantled him in pretty clinical fashion. Tsitsipas didn't play particularly well. His serve and +1 combination, which is normally extremely lethal and arguably, in my opinion, top 2, top 3 level in the world, was nowhere near that level today. He was struggling to hit his spots and make a lot of first serves, and also wasn't able to back it up well with a forehand at all. Some of it due to very good returning from Alcaraz, but to be honest with you, a lot of it was down to the fact that Tsitsipas was either overhitting the forehand or underhitting it, or just making a lot of mistakes trying to go too flat with it. And I think maybe second guessing himself about approaching the net as well, with Alcaraz being such a good passer of a tennis ball. I think he was unsure which way to go, how to approach the net as well, and maybe showed a little bit too much respect for Alcaraz. But I think he got inside his own head more than anything. And actually, it was only when he was match points down in the third set on his serve that he managed to actually claw his way back. He was actually 5-3 down on his serve and had to save 2 match points. He did manage to hold serve. Alcaraz serving at 5-4 actually got broken, and Tsitsipas managed to bring it back to 5-all. So it was a very impressive comeback from Tsitsipas. He then saved a match point as well on his serve, serving at 5-6, which again was impressive to me. Took it to a tiebreaker and fought in the tiebreaker, lost at 7-5. But valiant effort in the third set and some entertaining tennis towards the end, but disappointing that he didn't really show his best, I think. Alcaraz, though, is a rightful winner, and he sets up a blockbuster semi-final with Novak Djokovic, which we will preview in depth, so keep an eye out for that preview video as well. For the women's, we have Svitolina and Sabalenka, a very, very good matchup. Sabalenka, though, in the end, just outclassing the Ukrainian. Sabalenka has been playing some incredibly good tennis, of course, this year. Won the Australian Open, and she has really found her feet on clay. Her very big serving, flat hitting brand of tennis is actually doing wonders even on the clay, although I have to say there were quite a few errors leaking in at times, and she'll have to up her game. Maybe not in the semi-finals against Muchova, but definitely if she is to make the final against Swiatek, because that amount of errors is probably not going to be enough to beat Swiatek. She'll need to tighten up in those areas, needs to hit bigger targets, I would say, or at least hit with a bit more coverage over the net. She has enough power. She doesn't need to hit so flat. And on the clay, of course, we know it gives you a lot more purchase off the surface. She's actually hitting her forehand, by the way, as big as Alcaraz in terms of MPH, in terms of power and miles per hour, which is, incredible. She's hitting her forehand as hard or harder than the men on tour even, which is saying something about how much power she's able to generate off both wings. She's just yeah, an absolute the incredible athlete, to say the least. But Svitolina with a good run to the quarters. Muchova beat Pavlyuchenko with the 2021 Roland Garros finalist. She looked a little bit tired, I think, in all honesty. And Muchova carried on her fantastic form after beating Sakkari in the opening round, taking her spot, and she's really made the most out of it. She's played really, really well, and I'm looking forward to her semi-final against Sabalenka. I think it'll be a very, very good one. For the men's tomorrow, and actually before we do that, we've got to do our star of the day. And I think it's tough to pick. I think Alcaraz will have to get it. In all honesty, I think he was just too good. I think Djokovic, if we're excluding that first set, he probably gets it. But because we can't exclude that first set, I think it has to be Alcaraz because of how clinical he was with the performance. Also, he put the match points behind him. And then when it had to then adjust and reset himself for a tiebreaker, held his nerve, got it done. That was impressive, I think. Also, pretty high level of tennis as well shown by Alcaraz. Tomorrow's matches for the men's, we've got Zverev versus Echeverry. That's a really good matchup. Zverev played really well against Dimitrov for the first set in that match. Bit iffy after that. Echeverry played extremely well against Nishioka. Very, very tight first set against the Japanese player. Won the tiebreaker 10-8, then bageled him in the second set. And then the third set was a little bit closer, but still dominant from the Argentine. So he goes into this without dropping a set, and he's looking good. He's looking good. I'll tell you that. I saw him against Djokovic in Rome, and I was pretty impressed with how he was playing. I've got a feeling this is not going to be straightforward for Zverev whatsoever. I reckon it could go 4 or 5 easily. Then we've got a dramatic quarterfinal, Holger Rune versus Casper Ruud. And of course, they've met each other before, including last year at Roland Garros. Rune has actually beaten Ruud recently, but before that, he'd never beaten the Norwegian. It's going to be a really exciting match. The big question mark is going to be around Holger Rune and his fitness levels after playing a really epic 5-setter against Rundalo in the previous round, where he had to win in a final set tiebreaker. And I'm not sure how much that would have taken out of him. So we'll see how he gets on. But that's a real 50-50 in my book. But I'll go, in both those matches, I'm actually going to go for, I'll go for Zverev to win against Echeverry in 4 sets. I'm going to go for 5 sets, Holger Rune and Casper Ruud. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go 4 sets, Holger Rune. 4 sets, Holger Rune. For the women's, we've got Haddad Mayer versus Jabeur. Now, Jabeur has had some practice with left-handers against Danilovic 2 rounds ago. So this should be an interesting match for her. For Haddad Mayer, she's been playing some good tennis, played a really tough match against Ribas Tormo. She's had some long matches as a Brazilian. How much of a toll will that take on her? We'll see, especially given Jabeur loves her drop shots, loves her lobs, could have the Brazilian running all over the place. I'm going to go for Jabeur in straights, as I think she should be too fresh for her. And I'm also excited to see what she's made of after her comeback from injury. She's managed to find a little bit of form and string together some victories, which is great. Swiatek and Goff in a replay of last year's final. Unfortunately, I think for Coco Gauff, I think it's going to be another dominant performance for Swiatek. I think she's going to win in straight sets, but let's see what the American can do. Maybe she can make adjustments and learn from her previous loss to Swiatek. And if she does, then she's got the talent to be able to at least be very competitive. So let's see how she gets on. So those are my picks. I've given my star of the day as well. Let me know your thoughts on your star of the day, the matches from today, and also the matches tomorrow as well, and which ones you're looking forward to the most. Thank you very much, guys. Stay safe and well. We'll see you in the next video.